I should have went through these text messages when they first came out, but honestly, people, I was so disgusted with the ones that I did here, and I believe I was reading them aloud. That's why I probably didn't complete going through all of them. And I'm still not going to go through all of them. But I had to look at a few of these texts when Naziah and JB were briefly discussing Vary's girlfriend. And I have that in the video right before this one, but it probably will come up again. But I'm going over these texts for a reason. This is the continued grooming process. This is how he acts. So for some of us that thought that he may have been nice and sweet to her, and this is probably why Aunt Shannon was jealous, he obviously wasn't. He was more than likely the worst. I understand why some people, when they heard these texts, and I see the other people's comments, they say, "Oh, she's ready. She was grown. She wanted it. She was fast." I get it. I get it. But there's a reason to all of this. And it's a simple reason too. It's a horrible reason, but it's definitely a simple reason. So here we go.
So the first message is September 24th, 2022.
Now remember, in 2022, she was more than likely 11.
She says, "Bald head Janiyah, come here."
Shannon got some nerve calling her bald-headed, I swear.
And that's to a number that's not Mr. Butts.
Correct.
Okay.
Then the next message is on September 27th, 2022. All of these dates are from 2022. So September 27th at 1:37 a.m. UTC. It is sent to Mr. Butt's phone. "We fitnessing, happy birthday." Immediately after that, at the 17-second mark, again to Mr. Butt's phone, it says, "Come on." On that date, September 27th at 1:52 a.m., another message is sent to Butt's phone asking, "You okay?" September 27, 2022, 1:54 a.m., she sent a message, "Where are we doing it at your choice?" Immediately following that text, a message is received to Naziah, to this text now number, from Mr. Butt's phone that says, "You tell me."
And I believe this was around the time when she did reach out to adults and say that he had touched her inappropriately and nothing was done. It was no sweat to him. He continued because nothing happened. Nothing ever happens.
9:27, 1:55 a.m. A message is replied to Jarvis. It says, "Basement." 1:56 a.m. A message is sent to Naziah from Mr. Butt's phone that says, "You sure?" At 1:56 a.m., a message is sent to Naziah, from Naziah to Mr. Butt, saying, "Or job." At 1:57 a.m., a message is sent to Naziah from Mr. Butt's phone, saying, "Can you suck my dick, please?" The message immediately following that from Mr. Butt's phone to Naziah, "And make sure you erase the messages." Still September 27th, 1:59 UTC, a message is sent to Mr. Butt that says, "Okay, that is what I planned to do." Another message is immediately following that at 2:01 to Mr. Butt. "You turn me on just looking at you," and then there's a bunch of letters, which possibly is maybe an image that was sent that doesn't capture on the messages. 2:02 a.m., Naziah sends another message to Jarvis, "What time to be in the basement?" 2:03 a.m., he replies and sends her a message that says, go change your clothes and take your panties off. Neziah replies to Mr. Butts and says the letter K. At 2:10 a.m., so 7 minutes later, a message is sent from Neziah to Jarvis's phone. I hear you. What you looking at? Jarvis replies back immediately to her saying the letter U. At 2:13 a.m. UTC, still on September 27th, Neziah sends Jarvis a message that says, I know, I'm finna sleep good. There's another message directly after that that has a bunch of symbols, so I'm not sure if it was one of those little emojis. 2:14 a.m., she sends to him, what about you? The next message she sends to him immediately after, sometimes I be wanting to live with you. 2:16 a.m., she sends to him, you know what I mean. 2:18 a.m., she sends, what time I'm ready. 2:23 a.m., she sends to Mr. Butts' phone number, we not doing it or what? 2:23 a.m., Neziah sends to Mr. Butts, I really want you. This is still on the same day, September 27th, 2022. This is now 2:23 a.m. UTC time. Mr. Butts replies to Neziah, yes. 2:24 a.m. Neziah sends, pull your car down the street and come back, I'll be waiting. 2:25 a.m. Jarvis's phone replies back to her, come ride with me and Nye, N-I-Y. 2:25 a.m. she replies, did they say I can come? At 2:30 UTC, she sends him a message that says, I'm sorry but love you. 2:30 UTC, he immediately replies back, come on. 2:31, Neziah replies, I can't, I'm going to get in trouble. The next message is at 2:35. She sends, when you come back, drop Nye off, pull your car down the street, and I'll come in the base, I'll be waiting. Then immediately after that, she sends, basement, please. Jarvis replies, okay. At 2:40, Jarvis replies, you in the basement yet? Immediately after that, Neziah replies back, yeah. Now we are the next day being, it's now September 28th.
So the grooming had already started. He did whatever he had to do, and she was under his control. Immediately, she went from telling on him to now she's saying that, I wish I could live with you. You know what I mean?
2:28 a.m. UTC, she sends Jarvis a message that says, are we doing it tonight? I'm ready, fresh out the shower. The next message is a reply from him to her. Well, this is September 30th now at 1:25 a.m. UTC. He replies, yo. September 30th, 2:59, she replies, you coming over? She then sends another message directly after that, don't have school. At 3:07, a reply is received to Neziah from Jarvis saying, yep. She then replies, "Okay, we'll be waiting." At 3:17 a.m., he sends another message, or I'm sorry, she sends a message to Jarvis that says, "Text me when you get here." At 3:21 a.m., this is still September 30th date, Jarvis replies and sends a message to her saying, "Outside." Now we have skipped to September 30th, but it is now on here at 23:13 hours UTC. She sends a message to Jarvis saying, "Hey boo, you coming over?"
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. I had asked CJ if he wanted to say something about this case because he knows a lot about it, because I talked to him since it jumped off about this case, and he's never heard these texts from, JB to Naziah. So I'm going to ask him a few questions just to try to get like a male perspective. So CJ, how do you feel about, what you just heard? Like, do you feel that Naziah was being groomed by Jarvis Butts?
Oh, most definitely. With the text messages between her and him, you can literally see or hear the fact that the way she's talking to Jarvis Butts, that she was already groomed when these text messages were taking place. I mean, the way she not only received messages from him, but the way she even acknowledged or carried the conversation herself. Saying that, when you coming over, when are we having sex? Where she's actually took point in the situation where she was initiating the contact.
True, true. Because a lot of people, I don't know if it's men and women, but in other people's platforms, a lot of men and women, I'm going to say, when they heard the way she was speaking in these texts, they were saying, oh, she was ready. Oh, she wanted it. How would you address something like that?
I feel like this. Um, I think she felt like the situation was okay because the fact of the matter is that she reached out to people and they pretty much ignored her.
Mm-hmm.
So in her mind, she probably felt like, well, if y'all don't give a damn about me reaching out trying to get some help, then why should then I guess either it's okay or it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Okay. Back to the Texas.
Naziah, "That's messed up because I was gonna fuck the shit out of you." Immediately after that, she replies, "Well, damn, I wanna lay with you." Then at 17:10 from Naziah, "Are you here already?" At 17:12, "Shan told the kids that you said you was on your way, so they know you coming." At 17:13, Naziah sends, "I want to see you." 17:21, Naziah sends, "So am I just giving you head, or we fucking too? Because looking at that picture made me horny." At 17:22, Jarvis replies to her, "You tell me." 17:22 and 29 seconds, she says, "I want to fuck too." Immediately after that, she says, "So can we?" And then at 17:22, 49 seconds, Jarvis replies back to her, "Yep."
And were those messages deleted?
Yes.
Okay. And now, later in the day, on June 2nd, or I'm sorry, July 2nd, there's a set of messages there.
Yes. July 2nd, 2023, starting at 18:41 hours, she sends to Jarvis, "I want to fuck." At 18:41, "Do you?" 19:04, "Are you busy, yes or no?" 20:06, she sends, "Text me when you not on BS about fucking, cause you playing." At 20:15, she sends, all I'm trying to say, I just want your body on mine. At 20:44, she says, babe, where you at? 21:52, she says, I'm trying to fuck. 23:58, she sends, she fitting to walk to the store. So now the date's changed to July 3rd and the hours are 00:42. She sends, before we go. At 00:42, 31 seconds, she sends, go upstairs in the bathroom. At 00:42, 48 seconds, Jarvis replies to her, why? At 00:42, 54 seconds, Naziah replies back, just go. At 01:11 hours, Naziah sends, we doing something or what? At 01:12, he replies to her, yep. At 01:23, she replies, I want to lay with you. At 01:30, he replies, I'm going upstairs. At 01:31, she sends, okay, Shan going up there too. At 01:31, she says, I just want to chill with you. At 01:32, he sends back to her, is she? 01:32, and Naziah replies, yes, you know she wants some dick. So she going to follow you upstairs. Then at 01:43 hours, she sends him another picture. 01:43, he replies, not getting any. And then immediately after that, the message says, from him to her, this is your dick. At 01:44, Naziah sends, I know it's mine. Give her some dick, so ass can shut up. At 01:44, give her some so she can shut up and leave you alone. She only acting like that because she's horny. At 01:48, Jarvis replies, I want to see you. Immediately after that, his next message is, while you in the shower. Then at 01:55, she sends him a photo. It is now 02:04 hours. He sends her a message that says, I don't want to give her no dick. At 02:10 hours, these next set of messages are all from Naziah. It says, come back downstairs. Damn, you scared. At 02:44 hours, she sends, hurry up. I want you back. At 02:50 hours, she sends, come downstairs so I can sit on it real quick. At 02:52 hours, she sends, I promise it's not going to be long, just a few, but it's FRW, up and downs, please. Then immediately, right after that is 02:53, she sends the same message, but it's spelled correctly. It says, I promise it's not going to be long, just a few up and downs.
And were all of those messages deleted?
Yes.
Okay. Now moving to July 4th.
Message that says, in the shower right now, I'll text you when I get out. Jarvis then replies, hope you know that we fucking today. At 15:43 hours, she replies back, okay, fine with me, I was just waiting yesterday. Or I was waiting yesterday. At 16:20, she sends him a picture. At 16:20, she sends, I'm out. At 16:56, a message is received to her. It's loved in image. 16:56, she sends a message, are you busy? It is now July 5th, 05:01 hours. She sends him a message that says, you was right, it hit different outside.
And were those messages deleted?
Yes.
And moving to July 6th.
Okay, so we see that they are clearly in the same house. Shannon is upstairs. They are clearly in the same house texting. Naziah tells JB, go upstairs, give Shannon some DICK, and then, come to me so I can do a few up and downs on it. Now, I know that sounds wild, but let me ask you a question. Do you think Shannon knew what was going on in that house?
Shannon had to have known because, all right, first of all, if you have sex with someone and then right after that fact, you get up and say, oh, I got to go somewhere or I got to do something, that automatically a woman is going to get suspicious regardless because she thinks you're only over there for her.
Exactly. And you're in the same house too. Like, what do you have to do in the house? You know what I mean?
And then the fact of the matter is that they've been doing this for a while around the same time, early in the morning. So you mean to tell me no one noticed the same pattern that they've been doing for a while? Nobody in that house knew. I'm pretty sure something squeaked or they heard people moving. They heard doors open. Somebody had to know something.
And what I was talking about earlier before we got online, the little daughter, Janiyah, the fact that Janiyah and Naziah are very close. So, they're always doing their little TikTok videos and stuff. So you mean to tell me that Janiyah did not know what was going on with her father and her big cousin? She knew everything. She knew everything. She did. All right, let's continue.
July 6, 2023 at 03:05 hours. Naziah sends to Jarvis, yes, I can tell when you come. 03:05 hours, why? Now at 03:20 hours, she sends him a message that says, so doesn't that mean I'm pregnant? At 03:21 hours, she sends him a message, I don't know, so I'm asking you. At 03:33, Jarvis replies to Naziah, no. 03:39, she replies back, K. It now jumps to 13:10 hours, still on July 6th. She sends the letters GM. Then at 1400 hours, she sends, I want to fuck. At 14:25, he replies, how? At 14:26, she says, I don't know, you got work and I'm just horny. At 14:27, he replies and sends her a message that says, where is your nana? At 14:45, she sends, upstairs getting ready. At 14:54, Jarvis sends to her, she fitting to go. Then at 14:57, he sends the message, hello. At 15:03, Naziah replies, I don't know. The next message is, are you at work? And at 15:07, Naziah sends, I will let you know. At 15:08, she sends, you might can slide if you not so busy at work. At 15:08, Jarvis replies back to Naziah, yeah. At 15:08, he then says, I'm trying to slide. At 15:13, Naziah sends to Jarvis the word question. Then at 15:13, he replies back, yes. At 15:14, she sends, do you like your girls skinny? At 15:14, he replies, why you ask that? At 15:14, she replies, just asking, and then there's some type of emojis that must have been sent.
And were those messages deleted?
Yes.
Okay. And moving just a little later in the minutes on July 6th.
Yep, July 6, 15:35, Naziah sends, I don't think she's going anywhere. At 15:37, Jarvis sends to Naziah, that's messed up because I was gonna fuck the shit out of you. At 15:37, she sends, I still want you to do it. At 15:40, she says, sends a message that says, so am I going to see you today on your break? At 15:59, Jarvis replies, how? At 16:01, Messiah sends, don't you supposed to be bringing me the money anyway, so I will see you? 16:03, she says, unless you are going to go to the store and get me some pads and other personal things. At 16:03, there's some type of emojis that are sent. 16:24, she sends, I'm down to my last 3 pads. I would ask Nana, but I can't fit her big pads. I have a little pussy, they shit big. At 17:41, she sends a bunch of question marks with the letters WYA. 17:57, she says, what do I supposed to do? What do I supposed to use? 17:57, she sends another set of question marks. At 18:08, Jarvis replies with the word, huh. At 18:10, Messiah says, I don't have any more pads. 18:10, I need to get some more and you playing. At 18:12, she sends, babe, please. And all of those messages were deleted.
Okay. And moving to July 7th.
All right, so I have a question. Now I know the young lady told Jarvis that she needed pads, and he was the ones getting them for her. So you mean tell me that his girlfriend or any of the other females in the household didn't notice that she never asked them for pads? Because I know girls run out of pads after a certain amount of time.
True, true. Judge Sabri had actually brought that up. She said, she was pissed off, and she said it's a shame that she had to call Jarvis and ask for stuff. The grandmother, she probably was supposed to use the grandmother's pads or Aunt Shannon's pads, and like she said, theirs was too big. She probably used a smaller pad because she's very little. She's very small. So I think that's probably what it was, and probably she probably wanted to see him too. You know what I'm saying? It probably was some of everything, but yeah, that's the first host of Texas. That's the first one. So how do you feel about everything that you just heard?
I mean, it was pretty much everything was put into place. I mean, they had already they set things in motion. They were doing things. She obviously still had a childish mind because she was asking questions
Mm-hmm.
to him, and he didn't really
Mm-hmm.
give her no answers. So there was a lot of things she didn't know about, like especially about possibly being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she told him that I felt you come inside me. Does that mean I'm pregnant? And he
Exactly.
never gave her a direct answer.
Exactly.
So that's why she asked him, and lo and behold, unfortunately, ain't no telling how many more times he done came in her. She didn't know because she's a little girl. She doesn't know about these situations.
Exactly. And the last thing I would like to add before I close this video out, for a lot of the guys and probably some women too, they were saying, again, she sound grown and such, but you notice when she said, good morning, bae, there was absolutely no response. And then she says, I want to fuck. And then immediately, where, when we doing this? Where you at? That's the only time that she got any attention to him, when she acted like that. So I'm gonna pause it right here, and might add on to it, might close this, and we'll continue with the next host of these text messages from JB and Isaiah.